Hey guys, it's Sebastian from AskSebby, and today we are going to talk about what I think American Express is up to given all of their recent changes. Before we dive into it, I want to thank everyone for the well wishes. I'm still a bit sick, but feeling a lot better. 2 days ago, I pretty much felt like I was on my deathbed. Doing a lot of coughing today though, so editing might be a bit weird and janky. That probably will be why. In case you missed it, American Express ended up adding a lot of benefits, mostly to their premium cards that cost $450 and higher annual fee-wise. In today's video, we'll talk about what I think they're up to. I think there's kind of two things they're up to right now, as well as what this means for you and how you might want to change your strategy. First one is that I think American Express obviously wants you to have more of their cards. They don't want you to just have the gold card, they want you to have the platinum card as well and to build out a trifecta. By making the gold card less competitive, then they want you to add in that platinum card, which makes a lot of sense because the more cards you have with them, the more annual fees you're paying, and the better it is for them. If you look at their labeling of tier 1 cards, they pretty much want you to have at least one $450 annual fee card. The benefit though is at least some of these cards have downgrade paths to no annual fee cards, such as the Delta Reserve card as well as the Hilton Aspire card, but with the platinum card, you can downgrade it to the gold card or to the green card, but you're still paying that annual fee in the long term. Marriott Brilliant card is kind of a keeper card, kind of has a downgrade path as well, but just depends on whether you can use it at anniversary nights. Number two is I think they're focusing on finding people who are high spenders. If you look at how American Express makes their money, they make most of it from merchant fees. If you look at the merchant fee number for 2018 and then you compare it to how much they make from interest, it's a huge difference. This also gets reflected from their charge cards because you're not supposed to keep a balance, and the fact that for a lot of these $450 annual fee cards, you're probably not someone who is bad of credit, you're probably paying off for stuff on time and using the card quite a bit. If you look at some of the incentives on the cards as well, you can also see this reflected. The Delta Reserve card has a mileage boost at 30,000 spend and then an additional one at an additional 30,000 spend, so they want you to spend $60,000 to get those MQMs. The final one, and I think this might not be a thing, it just is kind of speculation at this point, is I think they're trying to get rid of low value customers, which also makes a lot of sense. If you look at the provision for losses for charge cards, you see that it hasn't really grown that much. Charge cards here are relatively low risk because people have to pay it off every month in practice. If you look at the provision for losses for credit cards though, you can see this doubling in a 4-year span. Going from $1.1 billion to $2.2 billion is a huge jump. That tells me that people inside American Express who have PhDs who analyze all this data predict that there's higher likelihood of defaults that they need to account for in the future. It wouldn't surprise me if American Express is trying to disincentivize people who don't spend a lot of money who are higher risk to stop using their cards to minimize the risk of defaults and the write-offs. So in summary, I think American Express wants to have more real estate in your wallet, so they're top of mind, and also because you're paying more annual fees, they want you to spend more money, and they also probably want to get rid of some people who are no value, negative value customers. What does this mean for you, and what does this mean for your strategy? I think if you're someone who doesn't want a platinum card, this puts you in a weird spot because I can see them eventually just pushing people more and more towards those cards. Already right now, there's a lot of people who are stuck with this weird decision of what to do with the gold card, just because there's not really an active downgrade path. Yes, you can downgrade to that green card, but then you lock yourself out of the green bonus and you're still paying an annual fee. For most people, it's going to either be a keep or a cancel decision. If for someone in the mid game, if for someone in the late game who has a very strong base already, then this isn't going to be too big of a deal. But if you're a student and this is your second card, that probably isn't a good thing. You probably want to keep it another year because you want that foundation first. This is why I recommend for most students that you're better off applying for Chase, Bank of America, Capital One, even Citi. Any of these other issuers, they all have downgrade paths for a lot of their cards. I think if you're someone who wants to travel, then I think it's imperative to pick up the Chase cards sooner rather than later, just because you can upgrade and downgrade as you need to. Go pick up the Freedom or the Freedom Unlimited and the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Reserve, and then if you decide that you want to move towards American Express, you can always just downgrade these to no annual fee cards and toss them into your sock drawer, use them once every 6 to 12 months to keep it active, and you're good to go. If you don't really care about the insurance and stuff like that, then Citi also works pretty well for this. There are some other issuers that might be fine as well. Just really depends on how you're prioritizing different benefits. This might sound like I'm hating on American Express, and that's not the case. I have a lot of American Express cards. I'm probably paying too much money to American Express, even though I get value from all of those cards and I'm technically getting positive expected value. But it's just understanding your circumstances and making sure that you're coming out ahead, that you're making decisions that make the most sense for you. The last thing I want for you guys is to be stuck with keep or cancel decisions, especially in the early game, especially when you have 2 or 3 cards. Absolute worst case, go get the Chase Sapphire Preferred, get those 60,000 points, cash them out. If you don't care about Chase's travel partners or anything, that's $600. $95 annual fee means you're getting $505 net. You can downgrade that to a second Freedom card or a third Freedom card, and you just have a lot more options there. For a $4,000 minimum spend, that's not really too bad, and the return on spend there is above 10%. American Express isn't leaving, you don't need to rush out and do it. Going to finish off with a probably terrible analogy, but if you think of American Express as the flashy basketball moves, you can think of the other issuers, the ones with downgrade paths, as the fundamentals. So yes, it's good to eventually build up to that, but you don't need to rush there. Build up the fundamentals first. Well, on that note, on that very awkward analogy, if you are someone who wants to learn more about Chase cards, American Express cards, any other issuers that we've ever talked about, since we talk about a lot of the major ones, and you want to support our channel, very easy way to do that would be to use the links that are on our website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. The reason I wanted to do this video is because a lot of people who have the gold card were wondering why American Express would do this to them. They felt like they were getting abandoned, and I think the reasons discussed is why. It's not that they want to abandon you, it's that they want to keep moving you down the funnel and into their next eventual cards. My question for you guys is, what are your thoughts though? Do you think this ends up being a good thing, bad thing? Is it a good move on their end? How do you feel about this? Let me and the community know down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out. If you know anyone else who'd benefit from what we just talked about, feel free to share the video with them. It'll probably help them out. But otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.